Hi everyone, today's coaching session is all about boundary setting. So today I'm going to share 7 ideas with you to help you protect your peace, okay? We're going to look at how you can set boundaries so you can reclaim your time and your energy a little bit. Have you ever agreed to do something even when you actually wanted to say no? Okay, we've all been there, especially those of us who are people pleasers by nature. We say yes to every request and invite and then end up wondering why we feel so burnt out at the end of the week. But why are we agreeing to things that we don't actually want to do? Sometimes we say yes because we feel guilty about saying no. We don't want to inconvenience other people, okay, even if it's an inconvenience to ourselves. We don't want to let other people down or have them think we're being unhelpful or selfish. But if you're constantly doing things because other people ask you to, you're going to burn yourself out, okay? People pleasing can deplete your mental, physical, and emotional reserves. And there's so much pressure to say yes and be helpful to others. But the problem with saying yes to everything, even when we want to or need to say no, is that we end up doing everything except those meaningful activities that we need, okay, that align with our goals. When we keep saying yes to others, we sometimes run out of time to do all the things that we want to do, we need to do to replenish ourselves. Instead, we're just doing what other people want and need us to do. And I think that we all could do with taking back a bit of our own time and getting a bit more mindful about what we say yes to. So how do we do this? Okay, we need to build our boundaries. Okay, it's really important to set boundaries with your time and your energy. It's such an important part of self-care. Boundaries sound quite restrictive, but they actually give you freedom. Okay, they allow you to create life on your own terms, which is really liberating and a massive self-love gift to yourself. Often we don't say no because we're afraid it might offend them or create a bit of tension or friction in a relationship. And we're taught to be kind and helpful to others from a really young age when we're little ones. And we just need to find that balance between being kind and being helpful to others, but also to ourselves. Okay, maybe you don't want people thinking you're rude or disrespectful, but the thing is that sometimes you're disrespecting yourself if you continue to do things out of a sense of fear or obligation or guilt. Okay, and I know it's really hard to say no sometimes. Okay, it's really hard to say no to someone if they're asking something from you, but you have to set boundaries with your time and your energy. Okay, there's no need to deplete your own emotional, physical, and mental reserves on something that doesn't align with your values, okay? Setting boundaries is really tough, but it gives you that freedom to spend time doing what you love and what you need, okay? To create a life on your own terms. So 7 ways you can set better boundaries. Number 1 is to get really clear on your priorities. Getting clear on your priorities and values will help you figure out what you're actually willing to spend your time and energy on. Okay, if you find yourself always putting other people's priorities above your own, it's time to just readdress that balance a little bit, okay? And getting clear on your priorities and your values is really useful because anything that falls outside of that, you can make a note. Number 2, listen to your gut instinct. I say this over and over, but your gut instinct is usually right, okay? You know the difference between excitement and dread when you get a request, okay? Use that instinct to help you make decisions. Don't feel like you need to say yes to avoid hurting someone else's feelings. If you feel that pang of hesitation about saying yes to something, it might be a smart idea to listen to it. Your gut instinct is usually right about whether you should say yes or no to something, okay? And by tuning into that and to listening to that little voice inside of me, I know almost immediately whether to say yes or no to someone, okay? So ask yourself if the opportunity or the request is going to be valuable. Ask yourself if you're going to be able to give it your full attention and to make it worthwhile for other people, okay, for the other people involved. And if the answer is no, let it go. Let that one go. Okay, that's a no. Okay, so the third tip is to put your needs first. Okay, I know it sounds really selfish, and most of us really struggle to believe that putting your needs first isn't necessarily a bad thing. But in order to use your time in a productive and meaningful way, you need to be able to get comfortable with turning down opportunities and requests because your well-being depends on it. Okay? My well-being is something that I try and prioritize above all else because I know I'll suffer the consequences, and so will everyone else around me if I don't. Okay, so if something is going to disrupt my routine, it's going to cause me unnecessary stress, or it's going to make me overly anxious, I'm going to say no. Okay, number 4 is think about the impact of your actions. Something that's really helped me say no is asking what type of impact an opportunity or a request will have on myself and others. Is it going to improve our lives? Or is there something else I could be doing that could make a more positive impact? Think about the amount of time something will take compared to the amount of positive impact it will give you. Okay, and if it's going to take up more time than it's worth, say no. Tip number 5 is do things because they make you feel good. Okay? It's all too easy to make others feel good and feel happy. Why not give some of that back to yourself? Okay? So make sure you spend time doing the things first that bring you joy and help you create better balance and better well-being. Okay, we all know self-care isn't selfish. It's necessary to live a healthy life. So schedule downtime, fun activities into your calendar. Schedule them in first, okay? And if there's no space for anything else in and around it, once you've put in your work responsibilities in your home and your family chores, then other things are a no. The other tip is to offer alternatives, okay? If you don't think you're the right person for the job or the activity, offer an alternative. Recommend a friend or a co-worker or another tool that could help them get their job done or help them with their request, okay? If you hate being an unhelpful person, then this option gives you the opportunity to be cooperative and helpful without having to take on the task yourself. And the final tip number 7, is to remove guilt. It can be really hard to set boundaries if you're used to saying yes all the time, and saying no can feel really strange and really uncomfortable. And when you say no, you might feel really guilty, okay? You might even desperately try to give a really full, detailed explanation, okay, to avoid disappointing others. And even though it can be difficult, one of the best ways of taking care of yourself is sometimes saying no when you truly don't want to do something. Learning to say no is a great way to protect your peace and protect your well-being. You shouldn't feel guilty for saying no. It's okay to say no sometimes, to not take on the extra work when you can't, not pile your plate higher when you just don't think you can manage it, or it's going to stress you out or overwhelm you. You have to remember and constantly remind yourself that you can say no and still be a good friend, a good colleague, a good sister. You can still be a good person. Saying no does not make you a bad person. And you might need to remind yourself of this often. And then one more thing I want to touch on today is how to actually say no, because no is such a small word, right? But one that is so hard to say. So my top tip to leave you with is to have a few scripts to hand to practice. So when you want to say no, you have the exact words that you can draw on to use, and you can say no with confidence, okay? You don't have to think on the spot about how you're going to say no, okay, and panic and end up just saying yes. because you've got exactly the right words that you can use with courage and conviction. So here are a few ways you can say no, and with each of these, notice how you're not apologising. Okay, you don't need to apologise when you say no. And also notice that you aren't going into in-depth, elaborate reasons as to why. You don't need to go into a full explanation, okay? Number one is, while my heart wants to say yes, the reality of what's on my plate right now makes this a no for me at the moment. Thank you so much for thinking of me. Okay? Number two, I really appreciate you asking me, but I just have too much on my plate right now. Okay? Number three, I'm really touched by your request. And although it's really hard for me to say no, it's really necessary. And I'm really grateful that our relationship allows me to be honest about where I am at. Another one. This sounds really wonderful, and as much as I would love to be involved, I just can't give it the attention it deserves right now. I'm cheering for your success, and I really appreciate the invitation, but I'm overbooked with my current commitments. Okay? That's another good one to use. So I hope you find those scripts helpful. Another one is just no thank you. Sometimes it can be as simple as that, and there's no need for anything further, no need to explain yourself at all. So just remember, you only need to say yes to the things you truly want to do, okay, that you truly need to do, and that you can do without being overburdened and overwhelmed. Design your life around the stuff you really want and you really need, okay? Anything else you can say no to if you need to. Okay, anything that you're not truly passionate about or that's going to stretch you too much and risk overwhelm, you can say no if you need to, and say no without guilt. It's really empowering. Okay, remember, when you say yes to others, make sure you're not saying no to yourself. Okay, so I hope you found this session useful. Any questions, please get in touch, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.